Hey guys, Andre the Farmer here, and today I'm going to show you guys how I plant a fruit tree. I'm going to tell you why I plant it, where I plant it, and how I plant it, because there's a lot of strategy involved in planting a fruit tree to be optimal. So this is a sapodilla. It's a Moreno sapodilla. It's a fairly mature tree. It already has fruit on it. It's a tree that is fairly cold resistant, so I'm not too worried about the cold and giving it a lot of protection from other plants. And it's a bit of an understory tree too, so it doesn't need to have direct sunlight, which is good because I have a lot of oaks overhanging. But I'm planting it here, and one of the things I like to do with a tree that I just get is I like to put it in the area where I want to plant it and make sure it sits there for a couple of days to make sure that it's comfortable in the spot that it's in, and it's not going to have the transplant shock of going from a pot to the ground and going from a new location to a different location. So it's been sitting here for a couple days, and I think it looks pretty good in this spot here. It's also really close to another variety of sapodilla, so if there's any sort of cross-pollination that can happen, I know that that will happen between those two trees there. So those are the main reasons, and also I know sapodilla did well here, so I know this area is going to be fine for a sapodilla to grow. So let's get to planting this tree. So the first step, we got to make our hole. Now, I like to make my hole more wide than it is deep. So I'm really going to try to make a fairly wide hole. Sometimes it's difficult here because we have a lot of roots in the ground here. But we're going to try to make this hole pretty wide. We're not worried about how deep it is because it doesn't have to be deep. We don't want to plant our tree super deep. We want to plant our tree pretty high, but we just want to plant it tight. And we want to have room for those roots to grow outward. So I'm really trying to turn the soil up and dig around. I'm digging through a bunch of sweet potato here. That's my ground cover, so I have sweet potato pretty much everywhere. We've got our hole pretty much dug. Just clear out dirt. Like I said, it doesn't have to be deep. We just pulled some peanuts out of here too. All right, so we've got our hole. Now we've got our thing. It's a little bit root bound, but it's also a little bit dry. So we're gonna try to get this nice and moist as well. Now, when I stand it up in here, I want it to be a little higher than the ground around it. I'm not trying to make this thing be flush with the ground because it's gonna sink a little bit as well. So one of the things that I wanna do is I wanna make sure that the level of this is a little higher than the ground. Now we're gonna put some water on that and we're gonna soak that up really good. Let's see if I can bend this over a little bit, give you guys a little better view of what's happening here. There you go. I think you can see that a little bit better there. So, you hear that thunder in the distance. It's about to rain. Days when it's about to rain are great days to add plants. So I'm going to put this whole bucket of water in here. And I'm also going to water this after I'm done. So we're going to make sure that those roots get a nice soaking. I'm not going to separate the roots because it wasn't really root bound. So the roots were a little bit tight in there, but they weren't really bad. And a lot of times when guys separate the roots, they end up actually damaging the roots more than they're helping the roots. So we better to just leave them alone in most cases. Unless you can see those roots going around in circles, I would leave them alone. And I didn't see the roots going around in circles, so I left this one alone. I've heard people tell me that they trim their roots before they put it in. You're just causing unnecessary trauma to your plant. Now we want to pack this in nice and tight. And we also want to add one more thing in here. Kind of forgot. We're going to dig a little hole in the side here, give it a little extra nutrients. We're going to put an egg in here, just a regular old egg. We're just going to go down deep to the side here, drop that in there. Usually I put it right under, but it's in there. The plant's still going to get those nutrients. Now we're going to get our soil. This is a mix of garden soil and compost. And I like to add a little bit of high quality soil around the outside here. We want to give this plant every chance, right? We want to give it as much nutrients as possible, as much moisture as possible, to give it the best head start that we can. And we always want to keep packing it tight. We want our plants to be planted high, and we want it to be tight. This is a sapodilla, which is a fruit that kind of tastes like brown sugar. It's one of my favorite fruits, one of my favorite tropical fruits at least. And you can see how we're just above the ground line. This is gonna sink. It's gonna recess into the ground a little bit. It's gonna settle down a little bit. So we don't wanna plant this thing at ground level. Otherwise we're gonna be in a depression and we're gonna get a lot of moisture in there. And if we're in too low a spot, we end up with getting a lot of root rot or trunk rot around the edges. So we've got a pretty good base of soil on all sides here. We're gonna go ahead and add some mulch. Now our mulch is important for a couple reasons. One, it's gonna help keep weeds out, and two, it's gonna help keep moisture in. So mulch is tremendously important. Do not plant your trees without mulch. And you don't want to really get it right up against the trunk. It's okay if it touches the trunk, but you really don't want to get that trunk real moist and rotten. So I try to keep it a little bit away from the trunk. But I want to get a nice ring around the tree here. And that's going to be a weed-free zone. And it's going to also hold a lot of moisture. So that's pretty much it. We're going to water that one more time. But this is my sapodilla. You can see the fruit on there. So I'm super excited. It's a slow growing tree. So I got a mature one so I could jump a couple years. All right. I'll see you later, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, if you enjoyed that, hit the like button. Subscribe. All right. See ya. Bye.